you wake up, not to the jarring sound of an electric chime, but to the slow, golden creep of light across the savannah. You are not late for anything. There are no emails to answer, no taxes to file, no deadlines looming. The concept of 9 a.m. does not exist. The very idea of a weekly schedule is alien. You stretch, inhale the damp earth smell of dawn, and look at the sky. Your only plan today is survival, and survival means connection, to the people sleeping around you and to the ground beneath you. For a modern human, freedom usually means choice within a pre-built system. We choose our careers, our political representatives, and which flavor of streaming entertainment to consume. We define our lives within visible and invisible lines, country borders, property fences, corporate hierarchies, and strict time schedules. We have traded total sovereignty for the promises of the modern state, security, predictability, and safety. But for 99% of human history, humanity lived without these lines. For 300,000 years, humanity lived in the Holocene, an era defined by total mobility, minimal hierarchy, and boundless space. To understand what true, unfiltered freedom felt like, we must understand how our ancestors lived without the psychological constraints of modern boundaries. Let's start with the hard anthropological reality. Hunter. Gatherer bands of 15 to 15 people were remarkably mobile. Their relationship to land was not defined by ownership, but by intimacy. A home was not a fixed structure or a GPE's coordinate. It was a network of seasonal community sites. They didn't own the valley. They belonged to it. They followed the migration patterns of the herds, the blooming cycles of the wild fruits, and the changing availability of water. This mobility meant that freedom was not just an abstract concept, it was a physical reality. If your band faced interpersonal conflict, or if environmental resources dwindled, you didn't need to ask permission to leave. You simply picked up your tools, shared a quiet look with your tribe, and walked over the horizon. The lack of permanent borders meant a lack of permanent social rigidities. The original human state was not one of forced cooperation, but of voluntary association. Consider how leadership operated in this world without borders. In a modern state, authority is structural, institutional, and backed by legal force, but in a nomadic hunter-gatherer band, authority was fluid and situational. The best hunter led the hunt, but had no say over how the camp was laid out. The elder who knew plant medicine was consulted for healing, but could not command anyone to work. If a self-proclaimed leader attempted to become tyrannical, bully others, or hoard resources, the tribe had the ultimate countermechanism, voting with their feet. Because there were no fences, no passports, and no border guards, an oppressed group could simply walk away overnight. Power could not concentrate because space was infinite and unowned. True egalitarianism didn't exist because ancient humans were morally superior. It existed because the open landscape made tyranny physically impossible. We traded that profound sovereignty for predictability. Then, about 12,000 years ago, the trap snapped shut. The agricultural revolution didn't just invent farming, it invented the concept of surplus, which necessitated property. A surplus of grain had to be guarded. It had to be owned. You cannot be mobile if your entire winter survival stock is stored in a permanent silo. Agriculture tethered humanity to fixed plots of land. We built walls to keep pests out, and eventually we built walls to keep others in. Invisible lines became codified law codes. Surplus became the engine of social hierarchy, separating those who owned the grain from those who worked the soil. True freedom, the ability to walk away, was gradually replaced by dependence and obligation to the proto-state. Borders didn't just appear on maps, they appeared in our minds. Think about what happened to human time during this transition. Before agriculture, time was cyclical and biological. You woke with the sun, rested when tired, and moved with the seasons. There was no distinction between work time and free time. Life was simply lived in a continuous flow of meaningful action. When borders and states emerged, time itself was carved up into administrative units. Peasants had to pay labor taxes, spending weeks farming land for a king or a temple. Time became something you owed to someone else. Today, we have perfected this enclosure. We live by the artificial pulse of the clock, dividing our existence into billable hours, corporate quarters, and designated vacation weeks. We have bounded our internal landscapes just as rigidly as we have bounded the surface of the earth. Today, we live inside the complex result of that trade. We live in the cage of safety. Modern humans are arguably the most secure population in history. We have police, fire departments, insurance policies, and borders guarded by advanced technology. The modern state offers us belonging in exchange for sovereignty. It provides a standardized national identity, common language, and common laws. But this safety comes with a profound psychological cost. While borders create a false sense of collective belonging, they paradoxically increase our individual existential isolation. We know the name of the celebrity across the ocean, but we don't know the names of the people living 5 feet away on the other side of a suburban fence line. The borders we rely on have made our communities wider, but they have made our intimate connections shallower. Anthropological studies of modern hunter-gatherers show they worked roughly 15 hours a week. They spent the rest of their time in total leisure storytelling, sharing food, raising children collectively, and connecting with the profound silence of the non-human world. Their lives were not marked by deadlines, but by the slow, meaningful cycles of nature. They were arguably less anxious, not because they had security, but because they had profound confidence in their own resilience and in their community's collective support. The geography of true belonging was not a dotted line drawn on a map by distant bureaucrats. It was the shared history of laughter around a campfire. It was the physical confidence of knowing you could navigate the wild valley with your own 2 feet. So, what is the value of this deep time perspective? Are we suggesting we abandon modern medicine, pull down every fence, and return to the Paleolithic? No, but we are suggesting that the greatest illusion modern society has sold us is that our current, structured existence is the only way to live. We are not broken. Our modern anxiety, our sense of profound isolation, and our craving for purpose are not defects. They are our primitive hunter-gatherer minds screaming inside a modern cage they were never designed for. True freedom, as our ancestors felt it, wasn't just about having space to wander. It was about sovereignty, total responsibility for your own time, your own resources, and your own connection to the people who mattered most. Perhaps, the first step to reclaiming that ancient sovereignty is not tearing down the physical walls around us, but understanding that the most powerful borders are the invisible ones we allow others to draw around our potential. True freedom isn't the absence of walls, but the ability to choose your own constraints. If this deep dive into our ancestral past resonated with you, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to join our community of deep thinkers. Drop a comment below, sharing how you carve out true freedom in your own daily life. Leave a like to support the channel, and share this video with someone who feels trapped in the modern grind. Thank you for watching.